I refuse to pay for my son's rehearsal dinner because I can't stand his fiancée.
Honestly, valid.
Just for background, my husband and I have 3 sons. Louis, 32, Cyril, 27, and Jamie, 22. Cyril has been with his girlfriend Rosa, 27, for 5 years, and Jamie has been with his now wife Lucy, 20, for a bit longer. We are all very close since it was just this year that my oldest 2 boys moved out. Jamie and Lucy and their 2-year-old daughter Letty will be living with us for a few more years since Lucy is still in school. We are absolutely fine with this. They are both helpful, sweet, and wonderful parents despite everything. Plus, they're not taking my grandbaby anywhere as long as I can help it. LOL. By the way, this comes from Reminiscent777. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I'm Carly.
I'm Dakota.
And OP says, Lewis started dating Jessa, 36 female, about a year ago and got engaged a few weeks ago. To be perfectly honest, I'm not totally sure about her, but he seems happy and has been through a lot. I don't want to be some evil mother-in-law and have really tried getting to know her, but I think we're just very different. She's kind of conservative politically, and my husband is a US citizen but was born in Mexico. So, as you can imagine, I do not support and did not vote for the current administration. Rosa, Lucy, and I have bonded in the past by going to rallies, protests, etc. And this all came up when I tried including Jessa and invited her. She declined and sent me a long text. Nothing crazy QAnon, but like we'd call them, Reagan Republicans in my day. Not that it's the same these days at all. It was still so awkward, but I've continued trying to invite her to non-political things. But I think that one invitation soured things. Other than politics, I have also found Jess's attitude towards Jamie, and especially Lucy, gross. I'm not stupid. I don't think that 2 people with such a big age gap would become BFFs, but Jessa seems to go out of her way to make snide comments about Lucy when she's not there. I haven't said anything because it's her wedding and 100% her choice, but also think it's odd that she asked Rosa to be a bridesmaid, but was even saying she didn't know if they'd be inviting Lucy to the reception. She thinks she should stay home watching Letty because she won't have fun since she won't let her drink. The venue does allow people under 21, and one of her sisters is 19 and invited. Also showing Lucy pictures of her sister that Jamie would walk down the aisle. Rosa and Lucy have both acknowledged it, but haven't seemed too upset. It's still gross.
Yeah, honestly.
Why is your son dating this woman?
I don't know. I think it's pretty problematic, and I think the people who are like maybe being excluded or being talked nasty to, they're like, yeah, I don't care. I don't want to go to your stupid wedding.
Lucy's a wife. Lucy's the 20-year-old wife
Right.
of Jamie.
Yes. And I don't want to support anything that this woman's involved in. It's one thing about just like not liking her.
I don't want to support Jessa. I don't support Jessa at all.
It's like this is someone who's just like actively like,
how can you be engaged to someone that actively probably hates your dad?
Bruh, she wants to deport your dad.
Yeah.
She wants to deport your dad.
Lucy for, we don't even know why she's against Lucy.
Probably because she's just like a young woman. And then literally that's it. She's like young, and I resent her for being young and vibrant. There we go.
Anyways, Jessa texted us earlier asking about the budget for the rehearsal dinner, and I just feel like I don't want to spend any more money on this than I have to. My husband thinks it's best to just leave it, but it feels like the principle of the matter. Plus, they're not even having a rehearsal or anything. They just want to have a dinner. My husband's stance is that it's true we help Jamie and Lucy a bit more than our other sons currently, but we paid for Cyril's college and more expensively Lewis's rehab. 7 years sober, we are all so proud.
Yeah, go Lewis.
Go Lewis. He said not to let politics get between family. But even if she was a true blue liberal, I wouldn't like the way she has been treating Jamie and Lucy. Ultimately, I want to continue having a close relationship with my children and their partners, but I also don't want to be walked all over. And I don't want to seem like I'm condoning bullying. Lucy's family completely abandoned her, so we're all she has left. I don't want her to feel like we don't care about her. At the same time, I know I'm biased towards them since Jamie is my baby and I've known Lucy for so long that she's like the daughter I never had. So would I be the a-hole if we don't pay for their rehearsal dinner? And we have some comments. Comment 1. I think snide comments need to be addressed. Sorry, what exactly do you mean by that?
Oh, yes. I love it when you
Dakota
hit them
loves
with that.
this.
When people say some
Explain
stuff and you go, hey, wait, what did that mean?
Can you elaborate?
Not in like a mean way, in like a, wait, what did you mean by
Wait,
that?
I didn't catch that. Can you say that again?
Yeah,
Honestly, even just, oh, sorry, what'd you say?
Yeah.
And then they just have to repeat themselves.
Yeah, no, I just didn't get it. What does that mean?
I didn't think an age gap meant we had to be rude to people. Should I be mean to you because we also have an age gap? Don't roll your eyes at me. In this family, we don't have a free pass to be mean to other members of it. I think you have to be fair and contribute an equal amount to your children. She will be the mother of your grandchildren after all. I'd just say budget we are contributing for meal is $750 and we'd like all 3 of our children and partners invited. I like that commenter.
Me too. I like that a lot. That was good.
Because I do agree that if you've put a lot of stuff into the other kids, it is fair for Lewis.
But either way, I'd be like, you know, maybe I'd go to him. I'd be like, she wants to deport your dad, bro. I don't know.
It comes back to that. I'm like, why are you marrying this woman? Man, Facebook's going to eat us up for this one.
Look, I'm simplifying things by saying deport your dad. But like,
OP says, I have addressed snide comments. I mentioned the dress shopping one. But there have been other times when I've stuck up to them and she's just blown off what I've said. Comment 2. Jessa doesn't have to make Lucy a bridesmaid, but she is coming into your already established family and tight-knit family bonds already causing problems. Whatever her issues are with Lucy, she needs to swallow them and be respectful. Don't expect to get your stuff paid for if you're showing people disrespect. Speak to your son and address what you're uncomfortable with before you move forward with the rehearsal dinner. Her comments need to be confronted before they escalate. Yet, also, why isn't Lewis out here being like, my sister-in-law that I've known forever, who's like a sister in this family, is coming to the wedding?
exactly. What are we doing?
Talk to your son, too. Offer a moderate budget for them and inform your son you expect to see Lucy and Jamie there. Reply. But it sounds like she doesn't even want Lucy at her wedding or the child. OP says, Letty is the flower girl. She's just not invited to the reception as it's child-free. Jess's plan is for Lucy to take Letty after the ceremony and stay home that night with her. And if that is the case, Jamie has said he'll drop out of the wedding. Yeah, you can get a babysitter for that.
Yeah, it's just a very transparent effort to try to exclude, like what you're saying, like a member of your family.
Yeah.
From the wedding, from the reception.
Kind of weird to me. We have an update, though.
Yeah. I would just press her and be like, what is your problem with her?
Yeah.
Why
because she
do you
hasn't
have a
given
problem with
one.
her? Press Lewis. Why do you not care that your fiance has a problem with what is essentially your sister?
Thanks for all of your advice on my last post. As I mentioned, I want to be a good mother-in-law. I remember when my boys were young and we'd watch Everybody Loves Raymond and saying I would never be a Marie. I mentioned our political differences to be upfront. I know it's a bias, but it's not the main reason I dislike Jessa, just one of them. I get that I would be the a-hole to not pay for their rehearsal dinner. A few of you gave me the advice to just let my kids work it out. And some of you said to talk to Lewis one-on-one. So I invited him to lunch yesterday. Before that, I had texted the 2 of them back saying that we'd love to plan them a rehearsal dinner and to let us know if they had any ideas. And Jessa sent us a contract for a place with an $11K minimum. We have about $10K saved up for each of our kids for their weddings, first homes, and honeymoons.
$11,000 for the rehearsal? What?
That's some people's whole weddings and honeymoons and more.
Who do you think you are?
I cannot imagine going to someone and being like, well, my dinner tonight is $11K and you're paying for it. Especially because remember her proposed number was $750.
Yeah, this is insanity.
Oh, here's one. Before you ask, we spent about $750 on Lucy and Jamie's entire wedding. Much cheaper because all their friends didn't drink. And I didn't want him to feel like I was only taking him to lunch to talk about the wedding, so we did talk about quite a few other things before I asked him how the wedding planning was going. He kind of shrugged like, you know how it is, so I asked if I could help in any way. He declined and thanked me for helping with the rehearsal dinner. I told him the cost was more than we were planning, but we are happy to do so for family. Edit, sorry to spell it out, he acknowledged that Lucy would be invited to the all-wedding festivities. He got kind of flustered at that and just started laying into me about how angry he was at Jamie.
Oh?
By the way, we'll never be angry at you for listening to full episodes with stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts, and search OK Storytime.
Yeah.
Tell them.
We'll never be angry.
Except for Dakota looking slightly angry there. Okay.
It's Labor Day. Look, I don't know. I think you've been going about this the right way. I want to know what's going on with Jamie.
Okay, let's keep reading.
I need to know what's going on with Jamie.
I told some of you, but originally Jamie was supposed to be best man. He and Lewis were always so close. When Jamie had first moved out of our house a few years ago, he would call Lewis every single day and they'd talk forever. Same thing when Lewis moved out last year. I knew after a blow up, Jamie stepped down as best man, but I did not realize they were this angry at each other. I have never heard Lewis talk about anyone else, much less Jamie, this way. He called him an a-hole, said he needs to grow up, stop being so controlling, and get over himself. He said that Jamie just didn't want to see him happy. There were other insinuations that I feel were incredibly unfair and untrue, but I let him get out his issues. I know you all think I'm so overbearing, but I had not realized their relationship had gotten so bad. I listened to this airing of grievances for a while, and honestly, I didn't push back much. It was so shocking. And later, when I told Jamie I had gotten lunch with Lewis, he was just like, oh, cool, like nothing was going on. We're just not a family that has these kind of dramas. Is it because Lewis has got someone else in his ear that likes problems?
It sounds like Jess has been
Named
talking.
Jessa? I told my husband I just thought I should let the boys work it out among themselves. He said, we'll see. So, not a great update. I have no idea how this is supposed to play out or what I should do, if anything. The wedding is in October since they got a good deal on a cancellation.
Okay.
My sister is a terrible driver. It made me want to cut her off.
Oh, like without even using your blinker?
My sister herself is a terrible driver. I've spoken at length about how she'd drink and drive, how she's a leadfoot, texts while driving, etc. She'd drive a minivan 70 miles per hour in a 35 zone with kids in the car and say the kids loved it because it was like a roller coaster.
Actually prosecute her. I'm not even kidding.
No,
Get her
fully.
off the road. None of that is cool. Prosecution.
Yeah. She even scared her eldest son by driving so fast his hat blew off. And he didn't have his head out the window. He was scared to even open the window of other vehicles while riding with other people for a while. By the way, this comes from DeFoxtrot86. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I'm Carly.
I'm Dakota.
And OP says, but my sister is just as bad as a ride-along because she's either a backseat driver, gives terrible directions, is wasted, or insults your driving. And for the record, I wanted to report her bad driving to the police, but my family went off on me for even having the idea, which is the only reason I never did. I currently don't know where my sister lives or if she even has a car. She's a substance regular user, not exactly swimming in money, and her oldest son is an adult now. And yes, I'm aware I should still have done something. I've been called a coward and I owned up to that. But my sister had us all mentally drained for years and used her kids as emotional blackmail. But now she can't do that anymore.
To be clear, if anyone is relating to this story, reporting your family member who drives like this could literally save someone's life, including their own children, including themselves.
It's very important to report this. Let's start with seatbelts. My nephews, for a while, had a bad habit of ripping their seatbelts off as soon as their destination was in sight. I'd have them in my car, and as soon as they could see home off in the distance, they'd rip their seatbelts off. I got mad at them several times and always forced them to rebuckle till we were parked. They'd give me grief, say it was no big deal, etc. But I held firm. You ride with me, the belts stay on till we are parked. After this happened several times, they finally got the memo and stopped doing it. They wouldn't tell me where they learned it from, though. I thought it might have been their father. But nope, turned out to be my sister. I was driving her home, and as soon as home was in sight, she ripped her seatbelt off. And I went off on her for doing it and setting a bad example for her kids. She called me dramatic and tried to act like it was no big deal. But I didn't let it go and hammered her till she said she'd never do it again. She did, but I hammered her again until she stopped. My sister absolutely could not stand anyone driving slow when riding with them. Every freaking time she'd ride with me, unless she was zoned out on her phone, she'd complain about me driving too slow. I'm sorry, I was going the speed limit. She twice debated how fast I should be driving through a school zone. The zone was 20 miles per hour on weekdays from 7 to 5 p.m., unless it was weekends or summer. But when school was not active, it was a 40-mile-per-hour zone. I slowed down to exactly 40, and my sister started demanding I go 45 and claimed it was 45 through there. And she refused to believe me when I said it was 40. Thankfully, the school zone had more than one sign, and I pointed to one that said 40 on it. And she pouted and shut up. This situation actually happened a second time.
Brother, look, I don't have any siblings, but I gotta imagine if this was my sibling, I'd just be like, shut up. You're the worst driver I know.
I'd feel like, shut up. Are you driving right now?
Yeah.
No, because you're terrible at it.
Shut up, you're a horrible driver. And then you turn up the volume on the radio.
My sister would act grateful for rides, but then would either distract you and think it was funny when you got mad, or insult your driving. Once, when I was driving my nephews in her home, her arm shot out in front of my face and she yelled, "Deer!" Scared the crap out of me, and she thought it was hilarious. Even though I could have lost control of the car, I went off on her and she forced out an insincere apology. Thankfully, she never did that again. Yeah, because she wouldn't be getting rides again if she did that again.
Yeah.
You're not riding in my car.
Honestly,
anymore.
I'm not giving you a ride after you do that. And you're like, that was funny. I'm like, you're the biggest idiot I've ever met. And I don't care that you're my sister. Call an Uber.
Even though my sister is a terrible driver, a leadfoot, neglectful of her own vehicles, guilty of multiple accidents and a DUI, she always criticized my driving. Once, I forgot to use my turn signal when pulling into a parking lot. Even though I carefully slowed down, she went off on me about the turn signal. Never mind, I had her and 3 very distracting kids in the car. And then after I pulled into the parking lot, she pointed at me and said to her kids, "You see, I'd never forget to do that." The only reason I didn't go off on her was because the kids were there.
I would genuinely be like, why don't we explain to the kids what a DUI is? Why don't we explain how many DUIs I have, 0, and how many you have?
Then there was my sister giving directions. She was fine if she wasn't wasted or distracted. Once, when she paid me to drive her and her friends out bar hopping, when it was time to go home, my sister insisted I take her way on the back roads. And I kept telling her the main road, with practically no traffic, it was faster at night. But no, she had to have her way. She got us lost in a maze of neighborhoods. Once I figured out where the main road was again, I headed for that. And she threw a tantrum because I wasn't going her way. We got on the main road and sailed right on out in less than a minute. And she kept complaining her way would have been faster. Then there was when she ended up homeless after burning nearly all friend and family bridges. I was driving her and all her stuff to the place she was allowed to crash for a couple days. And she kept zoning out on her phone and wouldn't look up to give me directions till the absolute last second. And I had to yell at her to look up and tell me where to go. And then she'd get mad and say she was busy. Like I could just automatically know where to go without her. She put me through days of that crap. It was about that time when I went no contact with her.
God, I would rather be put in the ground than go on a road trip with this woman. Go no contact. This is clearly not a story about salvaging a relationship. This is, you should have done it earlier. Honestly, the moment she had pulled that, you see, kids, mommy would have never forgotten to turn her turn signal on to go into the parking lot. I genuinely would have. Oh, did you forget to not drink before you drive? Before you got that DUI? Like, I'm not even kidding. I'd be like, it's time. I'm lighting it on fire right now. It's over. I do not play about that kind of stuff. I pride myself on being a good and safe driver as well. So if someone who was the worst driver I had ever seen in my life.
Driver, his car just likes to test.
It's true. And that's neither here nor there.
Then there was driving her while she was wasted. Now that was a nightmare. Once she and her husband both got wasted, and I had to drive her and her entire family home. As soon as we were all in the car and I'd backed out, she suddenly grabbed my shifter and shifted it into drive with a big grin on her face. Then was angry I was mad at her for doing it. She acted like it was no big deal and I should have been grateful she did it. She apologized later, but I kinda doubt it was genuine. And she probably just didn't want to lose her emergency brother taxi. Then, of course, was her wasted backseat driving, which I explained in the above paragraph.
You need like a limo partition to just like come up.
Yeah. And then there was the time she drove to work in the morning wasted. She worked 2 miles away at the time. She had to call me and beg me to come get her because her boss was sending her home since she showed up wasted, and her boss wasn't letting her drive herself back. I confronted her about why she was wasted in the morning and went to work like that. And she admitted to me that she just doesn't like being told what to do. I told her that when you have a job, being told what to do is par for the course, unless you're the boss, which she was not. She just looked bitter and got out of my truck. The last major incident I drove her while she was wasted, she had a friend with her, and we stopped at her friend's place because her friend wanted to have a sleepover at my sister's place. They just wanted to pick up some clothes. I waited in my truck for 45 minutes before finally going in to get them. I caught them sitting on the floor with a bottle of booze. My sister looked up at me like she'd just been caught by a parent. They just decided to get more wasted while I was waiting for them. My sister couldn't even tell she wasn't at home. She kept talking about the carpet. I had to forcibly drag her out and throw her in my truck and buckle her myself. Then on the way home, she unbuckled to have a slapping play fight with her friend in the back seat, climbed over the center console, shoved her butt in my face, then literally got stuck between the back seat and center console. So I had to pull her out.
Okay, that's kind of funny.
And then she kept trying to walk to the road and say home was that way.
Oh my
So
God.
I had to drag her into her trailer, throw her onto bed, and tell her I was done before going home. I went off on her the next day and made her and her friend reimburse me for wasted gas and letting my truck idle for nearly an hour waiting for them. By the way, we'll never make you wait for full episodes, stories just like this. Go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, your favorite podcast app, and search OK Storytime.
Yep.
Oh my God. I would have stopped giving this lady rides forever ago.
Yeah, man, honestly, and you already said that it's like, looking back on it, it's like people have called, said you were cowardly or whatever. But I think you can be hard on yourself, but it's like clearly you were put in an environment where it was like you would never do anything to family or whatever.
You should
No one
report her,
else
though.
did, so it's like you're not alone in this.
But report her now.
Yeah, you really should have gotten it to the point where at least her license was revoked.
Yeah, or put on some sort of like probationary period again, like a learner's permit or something.
Or so, and she clearly needed some kind of intervention because she's drinking so
Certain
much,
amount
and
of
it's
road
like
time.
she's got kids in the car. She's driving 70 and a 35 with kids in the car, saying that it's fun.
70
they like it.
in a 35, which is also a school zone. So not only are there kids in the car, she's surrounded by kids.
It's just like, yeah,
crazy.
this was in no way. I don't know how you put up with it for so long.
Then there was the crap my sister would say while wasted. She used to pay me to drive her out to bars, and she'd say we'd be out by 10 or 11, and would somehow push it to 1 a.m. She has no consideration for being on someone else's time, and acted like I was a killjoy for wanting to go home. But on one of the last times I drove her to a bar before she had her boyfriend take over, she suddenly started bawling while wasted and literally told me she was just waiting for our mother to pass away and no one would be playing Ozzy at her funeral. And right around the time I cut her off after driving her around for days, she told me our mother was going to pass away for crossing her because apparently a few people she'd been wronged by passed away.
What? Is she implying that she's going to murk her own mom? Your mom? The mom who, by the way, told you not to narc on her?
But after years of her saying and doing crap like that, I finally snapped and blocked her on everything about a year ago. And my life has been much better since. That's the end of that story.
My sister left us in shambles after borrowing money from the whole family.
You should rob her.
I've spoken of bits of this stuff in other posts, but I had to learn the hard way my sister can't be loaned money. She never liked paying it back, and I had to remind her a lot. There weren't many times in my 20s she borrowed from me. She borrowed stuff more than money then. I made the mistake of lending her my Nintendo Entertainment System, and her cats destroyed it. By the way, this comes from user DeFoxtrot86, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I'm Dakota.
I'm Carly.
And let's see what OP has to say. Speaking of cats, a decade ago, she had to have a cat put down, and she called me begging I drive over and help her. She and all her kids piled into my old car, and we went to the vet. The elderly cat had broken its leg badly and may have been hit by a car or even, booted from what the vet told us. We had this big emotional farewell for my sister's cat passing away. And then right in the middle of it, my sister looks at me while sobbing and says, "OP, can you pay for it?" She sandbagged me in the middle of that in front of the kids. It took her months before she paid me back and was embittered when she finally did. I think she was hoping I just let it go for the sake of the cat. Never mind, she also dumped a sickly cat on me for years and barely saw it at all, then lost her mind calling it her baby and said I was just giving up when the vet said the cat needed to be put down. There were a couple of other small money lending situations during that time. I can't remember for what, but like always, it was a chore to get paid back. Stop it. I don't have any sympathy for you now if you continue to lend her money. While it is not lending per se, once around that time, I paid a visit to my sister and was very tired when I was at her house, so I took a nap on her couch. I had a habit of taking my wallet, phone, and anything else in my pockets and putting them in my hat on the end table before sleeping on the couch. Well, after I woke up, I found my stuff on the floor. My nephews had gone through the stuff in my hat and scattered it on the floor. They did this once when stealing my mother's purse to look for money in it. They thankfully didn't steal the cash in my wallet, but they stole all the loose change I had sitting in that hat. I was furious and demanded my sister get it all back. She was basically like, "Oh, lighten up. It's just some loose change. You're teaching your kids to steal. Stop it." But she willingly let it happen. And as many know from reading my other posts, she's an absolutely terrible parent. Her attitude about it pissed me off, so I demanded that I get all the change back and even pointed out what kind of poor example she was setting for her kids. She tried to brush me off and say they were just kids. But I pointed out how she let them steal from me and how I wouldn't let that happen to her. So what kind of example was she setting by not punishing her kids for stealing? My sister ended up looking resigned to the fact I wasn't letting it go. She called her kids into the living room and told them to give the money back. They tried to deny it with crap-eating grins until I pointed out the facts, and then they started crying because they didn't want to give it back. You're raising the little monsters everyone hates.
It's just like, okay, boo-hoo, give it back.
It's better to do this now than them try to pull this with the police.
Yeah.
When they're older.
Yeah.
They had to go into their rooms and look for it. They only found about 2/3 of it to return to me, but enough of an example was made. They never stole money from me again. My sister acted like I went too far, and I told her those boys needed that discipline or they'd never stop. After my sister destroyed her marriage and she and her husband split, she ended up moving into an old trailer on our family property. She had $14,000 to her name from her half of the house sale when she and her ex split. Manufactured home in a trailer park. After moving in, she was asked about getting a job. Then she'd get weepy and say she wanted to spend the summer with her kids and couldn't imagine not having that time with them. We were like, okay, fair, but you'll get a job once the kids go back to school, right? My sister promised that she'd get that job once summer ended. Well, summer ended and she didn't get that job. And when confronted again, she used crocodile tears and whined that she couldn't imagine being away from her boys, even though they were in school and she was just hiding in that old trailer all day or going out drinking with friends. So we're not giving her any more money, right?
Right? We've learned by now, right?
Right? Please tell me this story doesn't end up with you giving her more money, right?
Certainly the title doesn't mean anything.
I can't afford the stuff for my kids. Well, then they can come stay with me until you get back on your feet. There's literally no shame in that. That's happened in like my own family. It's been like where it's like, yeah, we are having problems with finances. We can't afford stuff. Okay, come stay with us.
Yeah.
It's like the solution is not don't give her any more money.
Right.
Please, for the love of God.
Help her out where you can, but don't give her more money.
Okay. This confrontation happened multiple times. Eventually, my sister spent herself into a hole and begged her soon-to-be ex-husband to get back together with her, so he moved into the trailer. But my sister told everyone it was his idea, and she even made him buy her a couple of dogs.
Because that's what we needed, more financial responsibility.
More things to feed. She was also completely ungrateful when he bought her a refurbished fridge. Soon enough, he couldn't take it anymore and started house hunting. That's when my sister really had no choice but to finally get a job. My sister finally got a job to have her own income, and then she decided she wanted a brand new trailer. I didn't find out for years that she had talked our grandparents into completely signing for the trailer's mortgage. My sister also had to get her water and power from my house, which is a sub-building I rent from our parents. Well, she doubled my electric bill and would pay me her half in cash, but she often delayed for months. People told me over and over again to shut her power off since she wouldn't pay, but my nephews were living in there with her 5 days a week. I couldn't cut the power and leave them cold. I was paying the power bill by check, and then my sister convinced me to pay it digitally through her phone, which took like 5 minutes each time it was done. And no matter what kind of day she had or was having, she'd hem or haw about paying the bill. It was out of my dang account, and I had to force her to get on the phone and do it almost every every time. And then there was the money she owed me. In winter, she drove up my bill to over $500 a month. I'm on a fixed income, and that was basically half of what I got a month back then, and she wasn't paying her half. So I started keeping a record on paper of how much she owed. She really didn't like finding out about that. Once I confronted my sister over how she kept going out to bars with friends and spending so much on drinks and other things when she owed me hundreds of dollars, she looked me right in the eye and said, "I'm not changing my life for your sake."
Woo! Then I'm not donating anything else to you for your sake or helping you anymore.
Yeah, I'm going to donate you some winter jackets so that when I cut the power off at the house, you guys can stay warm.
Yeah.
So I doubled down on making her pay me back. She owed me around $500 at the time and showed up at my door with a $100 bill and acted like that was enough. I took the $100 and said she had $400 left to pay. She looked at me like I had two heads and said, "But I paid you." And I said, "You made a payment. You didn't pay at all." She doesn't even know how bills work. She gave me that look like it didn't mentally compute and repeated, "But I paid you." And I had to tell her, $100 is not $500. You still owe me the rest. She frowned and walked off. I knew what she was doing. She was trying to shortchange me and make me call it even, but I didn't. Before long, I stopped paying the electric bill digitally and went back to paying with a check because my sister always made it such a pain. When my sister finally noticed, she was like, "Why would you pay with a check in the mail when we could just use my phone?" And I told her to face that it's because she acted so dramatic every time it was time to pay and made it a complete hassle just to do it every month when it took so little time. She couldn't even retort. She just looked away with a bitter face. She asked me the same thing one more time on another day, and I gave her the same reply. At this point, I think it was more about control than the money. My sister wanted me dependent on her. She went through a bad phase of trying to mom me after moving into the new trailer, and I had to tell her off for it. But she was also constantly trying to get me to pick her over our mother. Our last confrontation made it clear that was not going to happen. My sister eventually paid her debts to me off, but she racked them right back up again. Around this time, she had a terrible boyfriend that only made her worse. She wasn't paying her half of the power bill at all and just kept stalling whenever asked. Our mother got involved and had it out with her. She went down there and yelled at her that I'm on a fixed income and she was draining me financially. Soon I got a forced apology and a promise for repayment. She and her boyfriend paid me a few hundred and that helped me get through the holidays, but the debt was racked right back up again. My sister owed me a lot and then asked me for a loan of $100 twice on top of it. She gave me the classic line from substance users, "You know I'm good to pay you back." She freaking wasn't. She was spending most of her money on substances and booze, and she didn't even buy winter clothes for her children. I had to buy them after my youngest nephew came to me in a t-shirt and shorts in 39 degrees. And I'm not counting the $200 I spent on those clothes and another $120 I gave her out of pity later. She owed me $800 and still does. That's money I'll probably never see again, but I'm not going to forget it, that's for sure. The last time I saw my sister, we got in a shouting match, and among the things I yelled at her, I brought up the $800 she owes me. She made a shocked face that tells me she totally forgot, and then she quickly yelled about something else.
Oh my God. How do you show up with $100 thinking that that equals $500 when in reality it's actually like $800 that you owe? And then think that you have the like entitlement to have any control over the situation that someone else is doing for you.
I would have cut her off forever ago.
Yeah.
She's like, "But we don't have power." I'd be like, "'Cause you didn't pay it."
You should probably pay that so you have power again.
That's what happens every single place where you live. If you don't pay the bill, whatever you are not paying for goes away.
Even if it was on my card and I agreed to do the power, the second that she's not, like, she's giving me trouble for doing the 5-minute phone call to pay the bill, I'd be like, okay, then I guess we're not doing it.
Yeah.
I offered to pay, but I guess we're not doing it now.
It's not like she'll ever willingly pay me back. I've got no proof to take her to small claims court either. Not that she has the money. She keeps moving to someplace else like every 6 months because she doesn't have a stable income. The thing that got my sister evicted from the family property was Thanksgiving 2023. We went out for Chinese food because no one wanted to cook. And by the way, you can listen to full stories just like this. We're always cooking them up on Spotify and iHeartRadio and Apple Podcasts. Just type OK Storytime into your search and you can listen to the full archive. Let's get right into this. So when we went out for dinner, my sister went to go gamble in the room with all those machines in the back by the bar. She spent most of the dinner back there and then came back bragging about how she'd won $130 and then dropped the money on the table in front of us with a big smile on her face. Never mind that she owed us all money. Me, 800, and our parents and grandparents, thousands. She made 2 payments to our grandparents after being evicted, and none of us have seen a dime from her since. That Thanksgiving, as my sister smugly returned to the table, she started blatantly ignoring most of us.
I think I'd pick that money right off the table and be like, great, now you have 360.
Yeah, or like you'd have 670.
Oh, yeah, because we're going up to 800.
Yeah, so that's just for me. Let's split that up among everyone evenly.
Yeah.
I tried to talk to her repeatedly, and our stepfather finally called her out. It resulted in a big scene, and my sister took her kids and stormed out. Our mother trailed after to try and calm her down, but my sister spit venom at her. Our mother finally hit her breaking point and told her she could get off of her property. She drew up a written eviction later. My sister left us with her trailer mortgage since her name wasn't on it, and basically just walked away to go do substances with her next boyfriend. I think.
Oh, where are the kids?
Yeah, that's the end of that story.
I'm worried about the kids.
We need to get CPS involved. If you realize that she's using, she's drinking, she's gambling, she's with a beat boyfriend, get the kids out of there.
Yeah.